Are you playing to win or just running out the clock? In sports, the game clock drives every decision. It creates urgency, sharpens focus, and pushes players to perform their best. So what if you treated your life with that same sense of urgency? I've created an exercise to help you do just that. It's called Your Game Clock. Download Your Game Clock today at bill-burke.net/clock. It's free, it's simple yet transformative, and it could be the first step towards achieving peak performance in the areas of your life that matter the most. Remember, life is not a practice run. Every second counts, and your time is now. Today's guest is one of the most sought-after mental performance coaches in the entire world. He's worked with athletes from National Football League, NCAA champions, including Alabama, which we will get into, the Kansas State football team, and of course, Fortune 500 execs as well. And beyond that, he is a world-class storyteller. He's got a passion for legacy, family, and impact. Ben Newman, welcome to the Fortitude Forum.
Bill Burke, brother, it is always great to see you, always great to be connected, and you forgot one critical piece. I never correct people when it comes to a bio, but you forgot that I am a fellow Spartan Dogs. Go Green, great to be with you.
That's right. How could we forget that? The green and white they're a special group all over the world. I love it. Hey, I want to dive right in because I know that you're all about this. And this concept that I'm going to mention is something that I know that is dear and near to your heart. And we're giving away all the secrets today. So I want you to elaborate on this as much as you want to. I'm talking about this thing called the burn. And it's something that I'll let you describe, but it's that fire that drives purpose. And more importantly, we were just talking about it, it drives action. So I want you to tell people what your burn looks like today and how they can find it in their own lives as they strive for greatness.
Yeah, I love that you just went right for it. We're wasting no time as Spartans normally do. They just get relentless and attack. And, this is a concept, Bill, and for me, this is a concept that not only do I put to the test every single day for myself because I need it, but time and time again is whether I'm blessed to work with an individual or a team that's performing at a high level, or I'm reading books, which I do every day, or receiving coaches from my coaches, even though I'm a coach. I love hearing stories that typically end up uncovering that the burn continues to be the secret of the highest performers. And so you touched on it. I believe now, from having done this work for almost 20 years, that why and purpose, as significant as they are, it's not enough. It's the underlying burn that ignites your why and purpose that causes you to show up on the days you don't feel like it, and especially after you win. The burn for every individual is just that, it's individual. So for myself, I had to grow up very fast. So my parents were divorced when I was 6 months old. I never knew my parents together. My mother, a handful of years later, is diagnosed with a rare muscle disease called amyloidosis. Every single one of us in our muscles, we have amyloids. If you have an excess of amyloids, you'd have a disease called amyloidosis. Those amyloids are going to eat away at your muscles, eventually get to your heart, take your life. 2025, still no cure for the disease. So my mother was told by her doctors she had 2 to 4 years to live, yet she responded by keeping an old journal where she'd write things such as beat the statistics, beat the odds, live with the disease that is chronic and fatal, believe in yourself, combat anything, purpose in life. And it was my mother's mindset. It was her fortitude. It was her relentless nature that caused her, even when we had 24-hour nursing care in our house, her last year living, to come to the dining room table every night without fail. And Bill, I'm talking it would take her an IV stand, one nurse, sometimes two, putting one foot in front of the other with every ounce of strength that she had to get to the head of that dining room table, knowing she was the leader of our family, to look at my older brother and to look at me. And I always got the honey because I was the younger son. And she would say, honey, how was your day at school? And my mom taught me what it meant to fight and have conviction and have passion when you just didn't have it in you, but you found that burn or that fight to do it. And I didn't call it the burn back when I was a 7-year-old boy who lost his mother far too soon, 11 days before my 8th birthday. But the way she lived her life has now caused me to understand there's a burn that lies inside of me that recognizes that my mother lived until 38. I'm 46. I've been given 8 extra years my mom never got. I will not waste a day. And so that's a burn for me, that when I think of that, Bill, I just can't waste a day. It doesn't mean my days are perfect, doesn't mean I win big every day, but I will not waste a day with attitude that I can control, effort I can control, an example that I set for the little eyes that are watching me. And so that's my burn, that's my fire. And everybody has challenge or adversity. I'm not the only one. And so some of you, your burn may come from challenge and adversity. Maybe it came from sacrifice that was made for you. Maybe it's sacrifice you're making for somebody right now. Or maybe your burn is somebody looked at you at some point in your life and said, you just don't have it in you to make it. And it lit a fire inside of you that caused you to say, I can do it. And so that burn, it's powerful, Bill, and I've now found it to be the secret of the highest performers.
You know what I love about that story and your story is, call it irony, call it coincidence, but long before you ever walked the halls of these major sports organizations or saw relentlessness personified in the sports realm or even the business realm, you saw it within your own home from your mom, and you didn't even realize the education that you were receiving. I just think that is absolutely amazing. To elaborate on that a little bit, you and I both have something in common other than being Michigan State Spartans, and that is that we both got to work with the great Nick Saban, whom I consider the greatest college football coach to ever do it. And of course, we were in different capacities with Coach Saban, but nonetheless, we had a front row seat to his brilliance. So I'm just curious if I can jump inside your head in that experience at Alabama, because I wasn't there at that time. Is there something that was unusual or unconventional about his process or his leadership style that maybe most people wouldn't see or cannot see from the outside?
Yeah, I think, and you and I both can speak to this, you being a player for him at Michigan State when we were both there. So I got to observe it as a fan and a student supporting you guys doing an amazing job putting Michigan State football back on the map. And I recognized it back then as a student. I always kind of had a keen eye for how things get accomplished in sports. And there was like a meticulous nature in which Saban did things. And then when he hired me in 2017 to be a mental conditioning coach at Alabama, Bill, it was the same meticulous nature. Even when you walked into the building, like the first time I walked into the Malmore football complex at University of Alabama, you could feel the expectation. It was so thick you could cut it with a knife. And it was what he created that the players took ownership of. And the more you got to know it, it was the meticulous nature of how all decisions were made. And you take this concept of the burn, right? How easily could Coach Saban have called speakers and coaches and people like myself, people that are doing the work you now do today, and say, hey, Bill, come and give an amazing keynote. And just know that, hey, Bill played for me. He's great, amazing example. He'll do a great but he was meticulous in making sure, what's the message for the players? How are you going to deliver it? And when something worked, he put it on repeat. You being a quarterback, when a play is working, you'll hit bingo and you'll run that thing again. Or if it's not working, you bingo until you get it right. And that's the way Saban was. He was meticulous in doing things over and over again. And it got to the point, Bill, to where he contacted me. It was after my second year of working with the team that he said, I'd like for you to write a mental conditioning for success program. And there's things that we already did far before you got here, and we were winning championships far before you got here, that I would like in this program. But there's 2 things that are a must that I ask of you. Please put in your prize fighter day and the burn. Those things have got to go in it, because those were the 2 things that, as he analyzed the work that I was doing with his players, the things they took the most ownership of were prize fighter days and the burn. And he saw there was a difference in how they thought when I taught those tools. And he was meticulous enough to not go, oh, the guys love Ben, let him keep showing up to speak. No, he said, what are the things that are causing those players to think differently and take different action? Those are the things we have to repeat. So no different than a play on the field that you would run, that you say, keep hammering that play. He would do the same thing on the mental side. Bill, it was amazing, the meticulous nature in which he led.
Yeah, you're just bringing back a flood of memories from when I was a player, and I couldn't agree with you more. Now, you mentioned the Burn and the Prize Fighter Day as part of his program as things that he latched onto, but I want to talk about something else that he talks a lot about, but you also wrote a book about, and you wrote the book this one right here, among others, called The Standard. And he talks a lot about, as you do, as this concept of standard over our feelings. And he used to say all the time, can you make yourself do the thing that you don't want to do, that you don't feel like doing, even though you know you need to do it? And so I would like you to just unpack that a little bit and talk about how the listeners can define what their own standards are and how they can commit to those things on a daily basis.
So what you bring up, and I appreciate you showing the copy of the book and giving me a push on that, because it was a joy to really write the book, because I was able to go back and count the blessings, which became research of all the individuals that we've been able to learn from and grow with and win championships with in business and in sports. And when I look back, standard over feelings was something that I had always said and taught all the way back to my North Dakota State football days when we were winning championships with Coach Kleiman, who's another unbelievable college football coach. And so when I was interviewed by Coach Saban in his office in 2017, he said, "What's the message for the players?" And I said, "Coach, I said, comes down to standard over feelings. We can't allow our feelings to dictate how we show up. We have to continue to dominate and attack the standard that causes us to be our best one day at a time." And it was that conversation I firmly believe, and that concept of standard over feelings, because of the alignment with what he already believed, that kept me there for 5 years and 2 national championships. And Coach Saban, 5 years is a long run with Coach Saban, because if he doesn't like something that somebody says or does, he will quickly throw you out of the building. And so I felt blessed for the years that I got. I know you feel blessed for the years that you got. But that standard over feelings is a concept that works in a boardroom, it works in your home, and it works on the field or on the court in the world of sports. It comes down to, and for everybody, let me just paint a picture. Let me be just a little touch longer with the answer so there's action. Every single one of you listening, you could tell Bill and I the exact period of time when you were performing at your highest level. You may be in the middle of it right now. Maybe it was first quarter of this year. Maybe it was a 2-year run a couple of years ago. And if Bill and I said, "What were the habits and disciplines? What were the things you were doing?" And you start counting them off, you could tell us everything that you did that was process based, that was your standard at the time, that caused the results. But what happens is oftentimes when we win, we get seduced by the success, our feelings show up, and we stop doing what we know we need to do. So the standard that Coach Saban believed in, the standard that I believe in, is that we all have a choice to choose to do the things that we know we need to do one day at a time. And when you stack those days, you stack those disciplines, the byproduct is winning at very high levels.
Yes, very well said. And one of the things too that I'm thinking back to my time as a player and looking out through my lens and my eyes at Coach Saban, even at the very naive point in my life when I was a college student, age 18 to 22, and I didn't fully understand the reasons behind all the lessons. But I remember after a win, after a solid win or even a monumental or big win, Coach Saban was always more irritated, more mad at us than he was after a loss. And I never understood that at the time. I was a young kid. I was trying to figure it out. But I think that directly ties to something that you talk about as well in your coaching and in your talks. And so I want you to, I think you probably know where I'm going with this, but is there a danger or a trap that people in athletics or in business fall into when they do have some level of success? And how is it that we can go about sustaining success once we achieve it?
Yeah, that's that seduction of success that we often talk about. The work at Alabama, the work with Coach Kleiman, the work with NFL teams, the work with the Microsofts and the Googles of the world allowed us to create what we call the 4 Ps of the standard. And those 4 Ps of the standard is a simple way, 2 minutes a day, to connect to the things of the process that are going to cause you to win more. So the first P is what I call the problem. Every single one of us, we're currently in the middle of a problem. We just walked out of a problem. We're about to walk into a problem we don't even know is a problem yet. Or the problem is, to your point, we're winning. And so let's actually address the problem of winning. Most people, when they win, because it was so hard to get to the win, they will take a break. I'm not saying don't take breaks or don't go on vacation with your family, but don't do it unplanned because you got a result that you should have gotten because you were working hard. Don't take an extra vacation. Take your planned vacations and have peace of mind that you do what you say you're going to do. But when people are winning, it often becomes a problem. And to silence that problem of winning goes to the second P. Imagine every day you say, the problem is we've been winning and I fear we're going to become complacent. So then the planning P is, what are the things you need to do on that given day to make sure you keep momentum going to keep winning? Pretty simple concept. And then the performance P, which you and I learned from Coach Saban, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Just do what you say you're going to do. And when you do that repeatedly, you will not win every day, but the byproduct is a payoff that oftentimes is winning. And when you receive that payoff, we cannot be seduced by success, but reminded that the payoff is confirmation that the process is working. And if the process is working, what I think Coach Saban did so simply and so routinely and so matter of fact over and over again was he kept the players connected to the simple process and disciplines that drove success. So when you got done hammering a discipline, you essentially would say to yourself, I have to make the choice to do this again tomorrow. Otherwise, you're going to lose your spot on the roster, or for sure, we're not going to win. And so it was amazing how he empowered the players to take ownership and to not be seduced by success. And all it comes down to is repeating that process one day at a time, day after day. And Bill, as you and I both know, that's the hard part. Because when you do win, it's hard to keep doing it. And it becomes almost becomes methodical and boring, but that's how winning is done. It's not trying something new every day. It's oftentimes having the fortitude to continue to do the things you know you need to do over and over and over again.
And one of the things that he always said, and I think for the listeners who might not realize this, because it's not a real popular quote, and it's something that I never realized until he said it over and over again, is every day we're either getting better or we're getting worse. So if you have that mentality of knowing that you're never staying the same, that little fire that burns inside of you knows that if you're taking those days off and you are getting seduced by that success, you're falling behind, you're slipping. And so that really can drive the people as they go as well in their journey. So I love what you said about that. And it's so tied into what Coach Saban preaches. It is boring, it's methodical, and you get sick of hearing it and sick of doing it. But those are the things that lead to our ultimate success. Very well said on your part. And I want to transition a little bit because you mentioned into the boardroom. And I know that you're coaching the top 1% of financial advisors and Fortune 500 executives. So, how is that different than coaching in the athletic space? Or is it really just the same game, but with different uniforms?
Yeah, I would say it's the same game with different uniforms. And you know what's interesting is people see my backdrop or they see most of the stories, or over the weekend, I'm working with the Indiana Fever this year, and there was this great spotlight. It was Caitlin Clark hit this huge three in the third quarter, and she runs off the sideline, and there I am on the bench, and we're fired up together, right in each other's faces. And that's what people always see because that's the spotlight, right? Stuff on SportsCenter, and you see me running up and down the sideline. But the reality is, so much of my work is still in the business world. And all of my work for the first 5 years started in business, Bill. So I actually put all of the mental training tools that we use, all of the foundational principles of success and habits, it was all put to the test in the business world before I ever even had an opportunity in sports. And my first opportunity in sports was my high school basketball coach calling me in 2011 and saying, Benny boy, the high school basketball team is underperforming. Will you come fire these guys up? Which I think is good for the listeners to hear, because I think people think that, oh yeah, just Nick Saban called one day. And no, I had to go back to my high school basketball team for no money. They didn't have money for a mental conditioning coach. And see if those principles applied in that setting. And then, yes, I met NFL players that I was able to help, and it started to develop. But it started at my high school basketball team, and the tools started in the business world. And so what I was able to learn once I applied them in sports is that there was a direct correlation. I love what you just said. Basically, it's a different uniform, but it still applies. Discipline, not being seduced by success, and controlling with a neutral mindset, a great attitude to attack every day. That's a business lesson as much as it is a sports lesson. It's a life. It's for our kids. That's a life lesson.
Mm-hmm. 100%. And I know that you're always trying to level up yourself. You coach people, but you're always trying to get better and push the limits of what you're capable of. And I know that you've shared the stage with some other icons as well, guys like Ed Milet, Jerry Rice, Tim Grover, just to name a few. And so because you're a learner and you're always trying to grow, is there a message from one of those people, or it doesn't have to be those three, it could be somebody else, but is there a message that's resonated with you that continues to drive you each and every day that you've learned from somebody else in the same space that you operate in?
Well, a couple of things. If I could, I'd love to just say thank you to two of those names that you mentioned. Tim Grover and Ed Milet have become dear friends, mentors, allies. I can't say enough about them. I'll tell you what is most common between the two of them is they tell me exactly what I need to hear to get better. I think a lot of times we seek the comfort of, oh, I'd love for Bill to just pat me on the back, come hear me speak, and tell me I'm amazing. Like, I would much rather you come hear me speak and say, hey, Ben, that was great, but there were three things that you did or said that I would probably try saying them this way or frame them differently, and it would have more impact. I want to grow. So no matter how many stages or who I share them with or how many championships we've won, I want to get better every day. It's why I'm reading books every day. It's why I'm still getting coached by two coaches. And so I just want to say thank you to those two because it meant a lot. But now one actual takeaway and lesson is one of my favorites. And I'm actually going to share a question that I love asking the greats. So if I have an opportunity to meet somebody who's done something at the highest level, Jerry Rice. And Jerry and I have been able to share the stage a couple of times now and build a fun friendship when we get to see each other. But in 2016, he spoke at one of our events. And I was so excited to meet Jerry because he just personifies process. Like when you think of attack the process, it's like Jerry Rice. And so I was so excited to meet him, and we're backstage in the green room, and I asked him, I said, Jerry, what makes you great? And that's a question I always love asking of high performers because you really learn the things that they believe, the mindset or the action steps that cause them to have success. So I said, what makes you great? And he actually responded with a statement rather than answering the question. He said, you know what I've never understood? How could somebody not give 100% when it's 100% their choice? And Bill, it was one of the most profound things that really speaks to it all. How could you not give 100% when it's 100% your choice? Earlier, I alluded to that standard. I didn't say win every day, but give your best every day. And that's what Jerry's saying. Why would you not choose to give your best every day? How could I choose, when I've been given 8 extra years my mom never got, to not just be my best one day at a time? And I think that's something we owe ourselves so that we can drive confidence from our discipline to perform better. But you owe it to those little eyes that are watching you because you are the example for somebody.
I love that story because I'm thinking back to my childhood watching the NFL on TV, and I remember hearing about how Jerry Rice was one of the originators of catching a pass in practice and then sprinting all the way through the opposite goal line every single time. And I just thought that was amazing that his work ethic, despite it taking longer in practice, and that really set the precedent for so many athletes, so many football players who then copy that practice each and every time they caught a pass. So that tells you right there exactly why Jerry Rice is considered to be the greatest receiver of all time. I love that story, and I love the fact that you just told it because the listeners now get to hear it as well.
And real quick, Bill
Yeah.
Walsh shortened the practice field because he would do that. They literally you read his books, and they got tired of waiting for Jerry in practice to take a 10-yard slant and wait for him to run back because he took it 90 yards.
You talk about Saban being meticulous. Bill Walsh might have been the efficiency coach. Everything with him was efficiency. So I can understand why he did that. But I love that. But it speaks to why both of them are so great. So I wanted to ask you, too, with all your accomplishments, and how does Ben Newman stay grounded and motivated? And what does your mental conditioning routine look like?
Oh, that's such a great question. I stay grounded when I come home from wherever I am, and my wife makes it very clear to me that there's dog shit that needs to be cleaned up in the backyard, and there's dishes that need to be done and trash that needs to go out. And the humbleness that comes with that, it's always a reminder. She's very proud. And without her. She's literally never said no in almost 20 years of me doing this work. Whatever it is, it's like, we will make it happen. And that's even when she was a VP at Anheuser-Busch. I have no idea how she was supporting the craziness of the things I had to do in order to build this. But the humbleness came from, when you come into the home, I'm dad. I'm not some speaker. I'm not some coach. I'm not some person that you saw on SportsCenter. I'm dad. And it is my favorite thing, Bill. I love to come home. I still get tugged and pulled from the demands of this type of work and the pressure that comes with it, working with performers at the highest levels. But I love being dad, and it's going to make me emotional. I love, now that my kids are basketball players and competing in high school, I love sitting in the front row and watching them compete, and do anything to just be there as dad. Not as their mental trainer, not as their performance coach, just dad. And for me, I will accept that anytime, any day of the week. So I will work my butt off out there to be able to come home and just be dad. And so Amy keeps me humble. That dad title keeps me humble. And I think the nature of just the way that I've been wired, which is I feel like I'm never finished, that no matter what level of success you achieve, if you always feel like I could go find that next level, that keeps you humble. That keeps you hungry. If we stare in the mirror and say, oh my God, look at me, I'm this and I'm that, you get seduced by your own success and you stop doing what it takes. But I love being dad. I love having a never finished mindset, and I wouldn't be where I am without the support of my wife, who keeps me the most humble when I have to go out to the backyard for cleanup.
I love that answer. And I'm going to finish with this last question. We mentioned earlier the word legacy, and you just mentioned something else that is very important that I want the listeners to pay attention to, and that is the never finished mindset. I want you to answer this if you could. And if you need a second, to take a second to think about the answer, but I'm pretty sure that you've got it locked and loaded and ready to go. Talk just for a second about the importance of having a vision bigger than yourself. And what does Ben Newman want to do in the future? What is your vision? Why are you doing what you do? And what type of impact, or call it legacy, do you want to have? Just to give the listeners an idea of what it looks like and sounds like to think big.
Yeah, so, when I first started this journey and I was invited to speak for the first time in 2006, I got paid $500. They paid my expenses to go to Chicago. Bill, I had no idea that was even a thing, that you could get paid to go and speak. And little did I know that fast forwarding 20 years, there would be an opportunity that, because of the impact and partnerships and relationships and winning we've done. And when I say winning, I'm not just talking about championships. I'm talking about people changing their lives, amazing stories of being amazing mother and wife and husband and leader of companies, is that we've done a lot of winning, and we've now been asked to create a program which turned into what's called Coach to Coaches, that you came through, where we actually teach coaches to be stronger coaches and leaders, which actually fit very well with the big vision that I always had, which was to impact 1 billion people. And so you realize one person cannot impact 1 billion by themselves. Maybe they can, but it's a lot easier and a lot more fun when you do it with others. And so I used to say 1 billion, but the reason why I bring up Coach to Coach is because I love how you and I were able to build a stronger relationship through that program. But in that program, Ted Rath, who's now the director of player performance for the New Orleans Saints, he actually said 1 billion's not enough when we're building a network that's this strong. Anybody that joins Coach to Coaches and joins this family, we're fighting for 2 billion. So now it's an opportunity with yourself and others that are part of our community, part of this family, to go out and take the tools that we've put to the test, to allow ourselves to lean into being the best example we can be for those that we lead, to go fight to that 2 billion. And that is a big number, but I know that we will hit that number because of the unity and the family that we're creating through Coach to Coaches and all of the other programs and impact that we have. And it's never one person. The blessing has been the team that we continue to create along the way.
I have no doubts. I have no doubts that you will hit that number. And it's been great to be a very small part of that and get to know you a lot better over the last year. Ben Newman, where can people get more information about your books, your podcast, the programs that you're running, and where can they connect with you going forward?
So Instagram is at Continued Fight. I welcome everybody to come connect. It's a great way for us to get to know each other. You can ask questions. I do see and answer my DMs personally. And then also thecoachtocoaches.com is the website if ever anybody's interested in learning a little bit more about some of the things that we're doing to help individuals develop their leadership, their communication, their branding, their marketing, all their skills by going behind the scenes of the work that we've done for almost 20 years now.
Ben Newman, you're a powerful force. I appreciate you being here. Thanks so much.
Go Green. Bill, thanks so much for having me.
Go White. Thanks, Ben.